Hi and welcome to our daily reflection for today, and it comes from the YouVersion app, and the verse is today, Jenny?
Yes, it's Psalm 56 verse 3, which says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you."
It's a simple little verse.
Simple little verse, but not so simple to actually get your head around. Because when you're afraid, it's really hard to put trust in God.
Yeah. I know, I think I've talked a little bit about the fact that I can often in the morning wake up with a feeling of something deep in my gut where I don't really want to face the day. I'm sure other people feel something like that at times as well, and it really is a discipline for me to take a moment and to not try and push the fear away or that dread or whatever it is, and not try and get over it, but rather to sit with it and say, God, you have promised to meet me in this. And so therefore I choose, even though I feel this way, to trust you for the day. And I trust you that I can get out of bed and get on with it. And God meets me in it all the time. No, God is very gracious.
Yeah, well, it was like that with me a bit last night. I couldn't sleep for ages. It just felt like it took me a while to get my head around. I ended up getting up actually, and getting up and praying and spending some time properly awake so that I could go back to sleep.
And you did.
And I did go back to sleep, yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it, how those things happen at night time when you're not able to clearly think and you're in another place altogether, and sometimes your dream life can set things off. So
And you're thinking in a sort of a different way for some reason.
Different plane.
And no, this verse is a choice. When I am afraid, I put my trust in God. It's not a feeling. It's not an easy thing necessarily to do, but it is a choice that you make to put trust in something. And it's not yourself. It's not in your money. It's in God, who looks after us and who has promised to be with us, as we talked about the other day, that God is a living presence with us, never leaving us, never forsaking us, and understands something of that fear that we do feel at times, and is with us in it. Like I think Jesus must have felt it a little bit. He was staring the cross in the face. Fear wasn't something that he was exempt from. Jesus understood it as well, and found that God is faithful even in and through what he had to go through and endure.
Yep. And while a lot of us are in isolation at the moment too, it seems to be that there's a lot of fear-mongering going on. I think we've got used to it a little bit and getting a bit sense of equilibrium happening with it, but it's still potentially an issue as this COVID-19 pandemic continues around the world, and it looks like there'll be many months yet to come of adjustment to the world that we're in. So how it's not easy, is it?
But God has conquered death. That's what the resurrection is about. God understands our situation. We know that through the fact that Jesus came to be amongst us. And so therefore, as Paul would say, nothing can separate us from God's love. Therefore, we choose not to be afraid because we know that God has things in hand. And that's as true now as it ever was for us. And as I said, it is a choice. It's not that we don't feel afraid. Now, the idea that somehow courage is not feeling afraid is crazy. Courage is feeling afraid and getting on with it anyhow. That's what true courage is. And God calls us to be bold, to be courageous, to trust God with whatever's in front of us, whether that's scaling a mountain or having to launch a business or having to stay at home for weeks on end. God's promise is that he will be with us. And so therefore we can, as I do, sit with that fear and say, God, here it is. I'm feeling it. It's real for me, but I trust in you, and God will give us a way through it. God has a way ahead for us.
Well, that's one comforting thought, isn't it? He's always got a way through. There's always another step. And even if you can't see it, there is another step. That's one constant promise throughout the scriptures. And so it's good to remember that. Even for Jesus, there was still one more step ahead of him all the time, even to the point of death. And yet there was more beyond death. And so that's a comforting thought as we finish today.
Yeah. God is the God of resurrection. So let's rejoice in that.
Okay, catch
Bye.
you later. Bye.